Fine Arts. Good day everyone. Before I will start our report, I would like to introduce myself. I am Marlene Esperto, Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Studies. The evolution of the fine arts has been seen as separate from advances in science and technology. This is no longer the case. Now painting style reflects society's unprecedented character. Impressionism. It is a painting style that emerged in France in the mid to late 19th century. Small visible brushstrokes that give the bare impression of form and blended color and an emphasis on the exact deflection of natural light are all characteristic of the style. An emphasis on how light may define a moment in time with color providing definition instead of black lines was what brought them together. The Impressionists made plein air painting or painting outside a priority. Impressionism was once scorned by critics, but it has since become one of the most popular and important painting genre in Western history. Why is it called Impressionism? The thing is, Impressionist artists were not trying to paint a reflection of real life, but an impression of what the person, light, atmosphere, object, or landscape looked like to them. And that's why they were called Impressionists. Impressionists rejected classical subject matter in favor of modernism, seeking to produce works that mirrored their surroundings. Oscar Claude Monet or Claude Monet. He was a French painter and the founder of Impressionist painting. He is regarded as a key precursor to modernism, particularly in his attempt to paint nature as he saw it. Throughout his long career, he was the most consistent and prolific practitioner of Impressionism philosophy, of expressing one's perception of nature, especially as applied to plein air or outdoor landscape painting. Claude Monet achieved fame for being the initiator, leader, and unswerving advocate of the Impressionist style. In his work, he did not try to reproduce a scene faithfully as examined in detail, but rather attempted to record on the spot the impression that a relaxed, momentary vision of the scene gave him. The iconic Claude Monet water lilies are scattered all over the world and are recognized as his most famous painting. His largest and most impressive water lilies panel can be found at Musée l'Orangerie in Paris.
Hi, I'm Kaylan Fuentes, the second reporter, and I've been reporting about the background, subject matters, and the pigments.
The world of painting. Background. The birthplace of modern painting was mid-19th century by a new technology or technological process. Such was the case of G.W.F. Turner's train, Steam and Speed, an evocation to the Great Northern Railroad train in the countryside. It depicts the feverish activity industrialization had embarked on. In effect, painting underneath gradual socialization in the transformed way of life of modern society.
Here is the brief explanation about the background. Background, the Great Western Railway, is an oil painting. It combines the power of nature and technology to create an emotional tension associated with the concept of the sublime.
This celebrated picture demonstrates Turner's commitment to classical landscape as well as his passion for experimentation and interest in the modern world. The painting is interpreted as celebration of travel new technological power, with the railways representing the convergence of technology and natural forces. These elements create an emotional tension associated with the overwhelming power of the sublime. The thrilling essence of speed was innovative factor of life, while the power to alter our emotions of nature while steam of locomotive provided a groundbreaking atmosphere scenery. Turner's was not painting a factual view of the Great Western Railway. but rather an allegory of the powers of nature and technology.
So now, let us proceed to the next, which is the subject matter. I'll give you a brief explanation about what is subject matter and why it is very important in the art, especially in making paintings, landscape, and so on.
The subjects chosen for many of his paintings emphasize the power of nature in a way that had not previously been depicted, making the human figure and all that civilization had built seem minuscule and fragile in comparison. Turner displayed a visible evolution in his painting style throughout his long career, although his early focus was on a genre of landscape. As his career progressed, he began to pay less attention to the details of objects and landscape and more attention to the effect of light and color. He is known for his expressive colorizations, imaginative landscapes, and turbulent, often violent, marine paintings.
He left behind more than 550 oil paintings, 2,000 watercolors, and 30,000 works on paper. Furthermore, Turner helped establish landscape painting, and especially its water-based corollary seascapes, as an artistic genre for greater respect and exploration compared to what had existed before or during his own time. And now, let us move on and let's proceed to the next, which is the pigments. I'll give you a short, brief explanation. What is the purpose of the pigments in the paintings, landscape, as well as the arts?
The story of Turner, the man who experimented endlessly with the new pigments and mixing method, is one of the trial, success, and occasional error.
Turner's watercolors pigments found within Turner's watercolors include gamboge, quercitron yellow, vermilion, various iron oxide include ochres, ambers and sennas, Indian yellow, green lake, Prussian blue, indigo, cobalt blue, blue verditer, and rose madder. He used watercolors in a black form, and there is evidence he made some, if not all of them himself. Turner created ethereal painting and watercolors throughout his life. However, his technique and tools let his painting decay rapidly in different ways. He also used unspecified lake pigments by fixing a dye on a base compound such as alumina, which turned a dye into a pigment. This gave a pigments great transparency in oil but less so in water. The choice of dye and base influenced the light fastness. As well as Turner used at least one red lake, a green, and a geranium shade, and all were prone to fading.
Hi, I'm Jessamea Alpicia Ariston, Best Ed Social Science student at Dr. Aurelio Mendoza Memorial Colleges. Okay, so in this report, I assigned to tackle the metal tube, reflect, and the study. Okay, so first, the metal tube. A metal tube, in order to render the actual transient effect of light and air on object and everyday life. Many Impressionist painters work in plein air and the open air and not their studio with a new modern technological innovation, the soft metal tube. Okay, so the metal tube were in fact syringers which were used to squeeze off paint and preserve the paint for a longer time. Tubes were also used in 1859 by Alexander Lefranc. He invented screw cap, ensuring that the tube could be opened and closed multiple times. Currently, aluminum has replaced and for use in paint tube. Okay, the next one, which is the reflect. You have seen some of the materials and ways of painters and their work of art. It is obvious to note that fine art not only focuses on the everyday life of people but also on the technologies present in the contemporary scene. Okay, I believe that in that comprehensive meaning of the ready-made as well, because if you only practice it in art, it can easily become illustrative. The next one, which is the study. The variety of technology and equipment and the visual art of painting is very significant. Let's get to know those technologies and equipment. In art, the study is the drawing, sketch, painting done in preparations for a finished place as visual notes or as practices.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmeline L. Marshall, 18 years of age, and studied at Dr. Aurelio Mendoza Memorial College, Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Science. Now, I have given the privilege to discuss all my topics, which are the following: transportation technology, camera, science of color, and audience. So let's start first the transportation technology. When we say about transportation technology, it is the new technology of the railroad train exercise an important influence on Impressionism. So when we talk about Impressionism, it describes a style of painting developed in France during the mid to late 19th century. Characterizations of the style include small, visible brushstrokes that offer the bare impression of form, unblended color, and an emphasis on the accurate depiction of natural light. So, transportation technology plays a big role in our society, especially in the painters or the impressionists. Why? Because impressionists travel more extensively than any other group of artists in the past. Their works were nourished by a greater variety of landscapes. Let's move on to camera. So when we talk about camera, it comes up in our mind that there are lots of cameras in the world, right? There are cameras in our Android phones or in the computer. But now in the fine arts, camera means the painters began to be interested in the study of immediate sensory data. In fact, actual photographs were used by some impressionists as basis for some of their paintings. The camera liberated painting from one of its traditional functions or obligations, namely precise reproduction or external reality. So, this camera plays a big role in the paintings, or in the painters rather. They see it, or they use camera, neither the camera see itself or see the paintings, its external reality of life. Now let's move on to our next topic, which is all about the science of color. The science of color is very important in enhancing the luminosity of paintings. Why? Because colors is used every day in our life, especially the painters. So if there has no color, there will be no paintings, right? So if we do paintings, there should be a color. There are many colors like red, blue, green, the secondary colors, the primary colors, or everything that has colors. Now let's move on to our last topic, which is all about the audience. Developments in technology have made possible mass production and widespread diffusion of affordable, high-quality reproduction in museum posters of renowned impressionist works. So the audience here in fine arts are the impressionist itself. So I have no any other discussion. That's all about. Thank you.
I'm Vince Tihabani, base ed student, major in social science. Reflect. The various forms of art are all products of man's fascination with science and technology. The evolution of Western painting demonstrates the artist's artistic endeavors, examining differing mindset and expressing responses and pictorial language appropriate to the scientific industrial era. Fine art is something created for aesthetic or intellectual purposes. It differs from decorative arts or crafts which, while beautiful, serve a practical purpose. Fine art might be beautiful or convey ideas and emotion, but it has no other purpose than to be art. Generalization. Let me summarize here what we have studied so far in this lesson. Impressionism. Impressionism developed in France in 19th century and is based on practice of painting outdoors and spontaneously on the spot rather than in studio from sketches. The Impressionists were influenced by technologies of the time including portable paint tubes and photography. The main Impressionist subjects were landscape and scene of everyday life. Traditional painting. Traditional paintings showcase traditional subject, mythical, historical, and heroic themes, and capture the subtle effects of light on daily objects. Traditional art is made using more traditional media such as pencil, charcoal, oil paints, clay, and so on. This form of art has been in use for many centuries before the creation of digital media and still widely popular to this day. Technology helps broaden the horizons of an artist's creativity while also limit the problem that they might encounter. It makes the production of art a lot less demanding, and as a result, artists now have more time to contemplate and expand their creativity.